Good morning, everybody. Myself, Veena G. Sarathi, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Sirsi. My dear friends, today let us understand the meaning of the forfeiting, difference between forfeiting and factoring, process of forfeiting, advantages and disadvantages of the forfeiting. Now, coming to the meaning of the forfeiting. Forfeiting means surrendering of the rights or to give something. The exporter gives up his rights over the receivables to an agency. He is giving his rights to an agency. So this agency, it will collect the payments from the receivables and he will pay the cash immediately to the exporter. So in simple terms, you can say that forfeiting is a form of financing receivables of the international trade. So when we come to the definition, forfeiting is defined as the non-recourse purchase by the bank or by any other financial institution of receivables arising from an export of goods and services. Non-recourse purchase by the bank or by any other financial institution. There are some differences between forfeiting and factoring. The first point of distinction is related to the definition. So, factoring is a service which is involving the purchase of the receivables by the factor. Factoring is a service which will involve the purchase of the receivables by the factor. But whereas forfeiting means non-recourse purchase by a bank or by the financial institution of the receivables of the exporters arising from the export transactions. Then second point of distinction is area. Factoring is related to both the domestic and international transactions. But whereas forfeiting is only for the export transactions. Then the third point of distinction, in case of the factoring, finance, advisory and consultancy services are provided. But whereas in case of forfeiting, advance finance activity is only the main activity. Then the fourth one is parties involved. So in case of factoring, there are three parties. One is the seller, second one is the customer, and third one is the factor. But whereas in case of forfeiting, five parties are there. One is the exporter, second is the importer, third is the forfeiter, fourth is the exporters bank, and fifth one is the importers bank. So there are totally five parties. Then next point of distinction is advance amount. So in case of the factoring, 80 to 85% of an advance is paid by the factor and the remaining balance amount it is restricted. But whereas in case of forfeiting, 100% finance is paid by the forfeiter after deducting the discount. The next point of distinction is size. So factoring is a short-term finance measure. Short-term. But whereas forfeiting is medium and long-term finance. Then coming to the next point of distinction, that is recourse. So in case of factoring, with recourse and without, both are practiced. But whereas in case of forfeiting, without recourse is practiced. Then the next point of distinction is instrument. Factoring, it will cover both the book debts and the receivables. Whereas forfeiting, it will cover only the receivables. Then the next point of distinction is refinance. So in case of factoring, factor cannot avail refinance from the debts accepted for the collection. He cannot avail the refinance. But whereas in case of forfeiting, forfeiter can rediscount the export bill accepted for the collection. Then activities. So in case of factoring, it is very simple. Activities are very simple to arrange, but whereas in case of forfeiting, there are some extra activities involved. Then the next point of distinction is guarantee for credit. So factor is not guaranteed in international factoring. But whereas in case of forfeiting, an irrevocable guarantee is provided to the forfeiter. So these are some of the differences between the factoring and the forfeiting. Now coming to the next part, that is process of forfeiting. So what is the process of the forfeiting? So there are some steps to be followed in case of the forfeiting. First step is that forfeiting is a commercial contract between the foreign buyers and the Indian exporter. So here the exporter will get commitment to the forfeit bill of the exchange from forfeiter through his bank. That is the second step. Thirdly, exporter will deliver the goods to the foreign buyer. Fourth step is importers bankers will collect all the debt instruments from the importer and gives it to the exporter's bank. Then the fifth step is exporter's bank will endorse the debt instrument without recoursing it in favor of the forfeiter, that is through export import bank. Then the sixth step is exporter's bank pays amount of discounted bill to the exporter. Exporter's bank will pay amount of discounted bill to the exporter. Seventhly, forfeiter will submit the bill for payment, that is on the maturity, to the importer's bank, and banker will submit or present for the payment. And the last step is importer's bank will collect and it will pay it to the forfeiter. So this is the process of the forfeiting. Now coming to the advantages of the forfeiting, there are many advantages of forfeiting. First advantage is advance finance of 100% export value is being provided to the exporter. Second advantage is the risk of debt collection is borne by the forfeiter. Thirdly, balance sheet of the exporter will become light. Fourth advantage is current ratio and liquidity position will be improved. Fifthly, exporter can concentrate on export business as his time is saved. Sixthly, cost of debt collection is saved. Seventhly, the exchange rate risk is shifted. Then forfeiting will provide more employment opportunities. Then one more advantage is documentation procedure in case of forfeiting is very simple. Then in case of forfeiting, it will provide medium and the long term financial facilities. Then the last one is the advance amount can be applied to some other productive activities. Similarly, there are some disadvantages of forfeiting. First disadvantage is there is more number of legal procedure and formalities. Procedure is very big and formalities are also more. Second disadvantage is lack of reliable data about the importer's credit worthiness. Third is the discount rates are very high. The discount rates are very high. Fourthly, credit risk is shifted, but political risk is heavy in case of the forfeiting. Last disadvantage is in case of forfeiting, fixed forfeiting rates are not available. So there are 11 advantages and 5 disadvantages. So I hope students you have followed or you have understood the meaning, the process, the differences between forfeiting and factoring, and the advantages and disadvantages of the forfeiting. Thank you, my dear students. We will meet once again in the next session.